to the bold analysis. Macharia Gaitho is saying Mount Kenya crackdown button, or rather crack button, has been pressed, and it is upon the opposition to read the sign and look for a political consensus in the earliest time possible ahead of the next general election. And in this podcast, while I will demonstrate to you the crack button the president has pressed, I think it is also important to explain in this podcast the trap opposition must overcome. I am back in Nairobi, and I want to say thank you very much. For the last 7 days, I was in Egerton to support Mama Mary, the mother of three, who went to Saudi Arabia and was thrown from third floor, fell down and broke her spinal cord, and actually came back in wheelchair and really was in dire need of our support. And our intervention as the Bold Foundation was to put up a house for her. I left David to continue with the rest of the work, and as I really showed you that house, it's a big house. It's one of the projects that we're still going to take all through to next week, when we'll be able to probably hand it over, or rather do some dedication. But it's still underway. This is mahali imefika leo, walikuwa nachimba hii septic. This is where because lazima kuwe na choo ndani, so they're doing that. They're also doing the wall, and the only pending bit that was remaining for us was the plaster, and that is why we are reaching out to you, that you can still reach out and partake of it. That is the bit that was remaining, the plaster, as we do the final phase of that project. And may God really, really bless you for partnering with our foundation to impact a life. It has been really, it was a big intervention for us to come through for Mary. Ladies and gentlemen, I promised you before you get much into these details to amplify the voices of voter registration. The continuous voter registration is going on, and we continue to remind you people that the tool to change things in this country, the tool to reboot the system, the tool to speak up your voice, your microphone, is your voter's card. And so register as a voter to participate and make your decision be known in the next general election. It is going on, and let me play the soundbite of Rigathi Gachagua speaking about that. And
agencies, great guys, I love you. I want to appeal to you that voter registration is here. You are the one to sort out this country for us. You are the one to determine how we shall be governed. The only way, the only available tool is your voting card. Please come up from next week and register as voters and participate in the change that we desire. You have a date with the destiny. Please don't let the country down. We depend on you. Thank you very much.
By the way, even if in the comfort of your home, in your place in the office, if you can record yourself a video and encouraging others to register as voters, you can share in my WhatsApp, and I'll be able to share it in this podcast as we amplify the voices of register to vote and will not be cowed. Today, when I was coming to the office, my car was raided. Quite an experience. I've shared it in this channel. Yeah, and I don't know, I've done analysis for quite some time, for the last almost 4 years. I've never had such an experience. I don't know what I've done different that I've been doing for the last 4 years. I don't know if it's because of such information. Probably, I don't know, people don't want to hear this. But we pray and we believe that we do all this in the face of objectivity. We remain objective. We don't just criticize, but we give it in the sense of this is right and this is wrong. Yeah, so maybe, I don't know if someone also think maybe I'm thinking of a political office, so I'm not going to fight the next general election. I'll stick to political analysis and also supporting the society. This community still needs us, so we believe that we are protected by the blood of Jesus Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, Rigathi Gachagua has indicated that he's willing to swing the Mount Kenya vote to Kalonzo Musyoka, while Uhuru Kenyatta seemingly is also pledging the same basket to Matian'gi. And this is putting Mount Kenya in crossroads. And it is why Malala is leading some riot act on Jeremiah Kioni.
Ningependa kuambia Kioni, kama wewe uko kwa United Opposition na uwezi sema one term, wewe ni moro. So kabla mtu yote akuja aseme yeye anapinga serikali, unamwambia kwanza aseme nini? One term. Sasa wewe Kioni, enda kwanza useme one term, ndio tujue wewe sio mtu wa Ruto. Lakini yeye anakuja wanaongea kizungu mingi hapo, economist nini. Sisi tunasema agenda yetu nambari 1 ni Ruto ni one term. Sasa Kioni aache kuleta confusion. Aache kuleta confusion. Anaanza kusema ati Rigathi ni mtu wa William Ruto. Rigathi anaweza kana William Ruto kweli? Haizi. Sisi hatuwezi kana William Ruto. Ameua watoto wetu. Ameharibu uchumi wetu. William Ruto must go one term. So Kioni, be warned. Don't bring confusion in the United Opposition.
Kalonzo Musyoka today met Matian'gi in the height of this division on this Wednesday morning, just to harmonize as the perception of breakup in the opposition house continue to haunt that outfit. And Macharia Gaitho, in his weekly column by Nation, is saying, Ruto will be looking on with great pleasure at the divisions in opposition ranks now manifested by open snipping between Gachagua and Uhuru camps. But he must also be deeply concerned at Raila's restatement of ODM's continuing presidential ambitions. So this is what is at the center of it. And I want to demonstrate to you that opposition, for them to mount a good presidential contest and to gain the trust of the Kenyan people, the division is part of the storm that really the political terrain must go through. The region that supplied almost 50% of Ruto's vote, significantly divided amongst two opponents, clearly gives President Ruto a big smile. But let me tell you how that is a focus, or rather the issue of the division baton, in why this baton needs not to be activated and the opposition must come out of this trap. I know the conversation has been centered around Uhuru and Rigathi. Mount Kenya could still be crowded filled as Jimmy Wanjigi and Boniface Mwangi, both banking on Gen Z vote, eyeing the same basket. Boniface Mwangi, if you don't know, also launched his presidential bid. Jimmy Wanjigi is propping up Safina Party and trying to posture to project himself as the Gen Z candidate. Same with Boniface Mwangi. Moses Kuria, who since left President Ruto's advisory role, has kept a low profile though, but is jostling for the same Mount Kenya vote. And the division is quite deep that recently when a team went to State House from Kiambu, they floated a narrative of Kiambu is not part of Mount Kenya. Quite a disgraced narrative that should not even be talked about. But I was shocked when I saw the reaction from Meeting-Wamuchomba, a leader I highly respected. I just want to read a post. It could be a long post, but there is something I want us to get from there to get the tone of this post, and you'll understand why the division script could really be deeper than what people imagine. It's disheartening to see mountain people attacking each other for the political competition. This entitlement is too much. Before DCP, there was Jubilee, UDA, DP, and others. Nobody had the monopoly of the 8 million votes. We said before Hatupangwingwi. Uhuru Kenyatta is the undisputed kingpin of the mountain, and he didn't force it on us. At least in his 10 years rule, with all his flaws, he was never impeached and never impeached his deputy. He unified the country. He is now at the liberty to bless anybody to take over from him, even if it's not me. And if all what has said about him during swearing in KK government is true, then why do you want to inherit his messy party? Kwani inheritance is given by force. Attacking Uhuru is despising Kiambu and Kiambu at large. I thought we learned a lesson after Mbuzi's stealing episode. Let it be clear, you attack Uhuru, you attack Kiambu, and we are watching. If Uhuru is betraying you by quoting Matian'gi, when did you sit and agree with him that you are the next in the line? We are in a democratic country and we have rights to associate. Kiambu County is not a colony of Nyeri, and with much respect to Nyeri people. If you read this post by Wamuchomba, of course, she's sending some direct jabs to Rigathi Gachagua. And of course, in the height of all this, I think I understand that Governor Wamuchomba has a personal relationship, a working close relationship with Matian'gi. And that is why she's in full defense of Matian'gi. But I know now people are positioning themselves. Leaders like Wamuchomba would rather have Matian'gi vie through Jubilee as a presidential candidate and then use Jubilee ticket in Githunguri and use Matian'gi euphoria, probably the mountain, to masquerade as the next president, but making their way. But they also know very well that Matian'gi seems not to stand any chance of becoming the president if he doesn't associate or doesn't have a good partnership with the rest of Kenyans. Let me not say opposition, with the rest of Kenyans. So, and the second observation I wanted to make here is when Wamuchomba is talking, he's also talking in the context of Kiambu versus Nyeri. Now, this county division is emerging, and this is playing right. When this was said, I think Wamuchomba was amongst the leaders who really called out President Ruto for that kind of narrative. But to my surprise, that seemed to be the playbook that she's playing. I wanted to make another observation here, just to tell you that the opposition must overcome the division trap. The tail end of Duale's speech in Uma University, where he was hitting at former president, Duale made a statement about the fact that people are dropping from DCP party because the opposition does not hold any fabric, or the opposition does not inspire hope on its supporters. And while he was trying to send this jab, there's something I want us to get from this.
Your coffee prices, your tea prices were at the bottom. Even they should thank us. So just for that, to make the record straight, Your Excellency, and I will later tweet it, those who are not here, and I'll put it on my Facebook. But you have given me an opportunity, Your Excellency. It's called the law of relevance. On that one, I am wrong. This was an education function. But because they train nurses, This morning I looked at it, where do I come in this university? The Vice Chancellor, her nurses are interns, and I'm the one who, through you, we pay government. So I am a stakeholder here, and they're looking for medicine, apart from the community and all that. So, Your Excellency, that law of relevance, I think you'll forgive me, I think because of nursing, but I wanted to make sure and tell the people, those who are pedestrian. And finally, Your Excellency, first they said we are mobilizing this region, They said Ruto must go. They say war this to one term. Now yesterday they started a new story, that all these team were together, half of them are projects of Ruto. Can you imagine? Themselves are saying, you are a project, you are a project, you are a project. No agenda. Ruto must go, it's not an agenda for Kenya. This one is a project, it's not an agenda. Your Excellency, on behalf of these great people, we, this community, and who is who in this community? The religious leaders are sitting here. The political leaders are sitting here. Count on us. Am I right? Should the president count on us? Yeah. In 2015, he was told not to come here. But he said, these are my people. That's why their candidates are dropping. From Magarini to Banisa to Malava to where. And if you are a serious politician and you see at the rate in which your candidates are dropping, you must ask yourself a question. What is going on? Thank you, Excellency.
Now, this is it. It is upon the opposition to read the mood of the House. The truth is that the state has been reaching out to those aspirants under DCP so that they ensure that those DCP aspirants do not vie, because the Banisa candidate actually met president in State House and then the next day bolted out of the race. I don't understand, probably I don't buy how then that comes out as exclusively a Rigathi thing. Maybe I'm not getting it that way. It doesn't come out to my end as exclusively a Rigathi thing. This is a pure script that you cannot really underestimate. Raila's stalwarts pro-broad-based, like Gladys Wanga, Oburu Odinga, Mbadi Wandai, and Joho axis, disconnect with Sifuna axis is also designed in its own nature to scuttle what Raila dreams as a magical 2027 presidential bargain bid. Raila's presidential bid in 2027 is just a bargain bid. It is not a bid that is to be actualized, but it's a bargain that its own objective is probably to bargain for what comes out of that. Now, this is what I want to demonstrate to you, that the opposition, the aspect of the division is very big, and it's something that is playing into William Ruto's trap. And that's why, and then someone would ask Kevin, what do you think then is the way forward? Or what should they do then? Ruto machinery is planned to make sure that that opposition house is keenly split, and that is supposed to create fatigue. So what am I saying? This is what I mean. It is very true that the Mount Kenya vote is integral to any presidential candidate in this country by the virtue of the numbers. But of course, it doesn't mean that the vote stop, the presidential, the election stops and ends in Mount Kenya. And William Ruto and the state have choreographed a very, a laid plan that they take Rigathi as the enemy, and that the whole opposition is supposed to be inclined to Rigathi as the object of hate. Then after making Rigathi the object of hate, that is supposed then to, after making him the object of hate, then he's supposed to be destroyed. This is the perception that is coming out, that if opposition does not gather Mount Kenya fully, and they do not take Mount Kenya, they cannot pose a threat to the president. And it is in my view that it is time for Matian'gi, Kalonzo, and Rigathi to come out of that Mount Kenya box and get to uncharted areas. There is a lot of concentration on how many votes Rigathi and Uhuru can convert to each presidential candidate, and how many votes Ruto has lost in Mount Kenya. That narrative seems to have been exhausted. That debate needs now to be obsolete, so that the opposition must read the mood. I saw Rigathi again getting to Kajiado. I have seen Kalonzo Karen confined to his Ukambani base, but it is about time that you get to those uncharted areas. I would want them to start looking at the matrix beyond Mount Kenya and beyond probably the traditional base of Kamba. You need to get out and reach out to minority. That is something that will help, deflate the Mount Kenya, because people, there is a perception being created on people that, yes, if President successfully splits Rigathi and Uhuru, if Uhuru and Rigathi splits Mount Kenya, then That is William Ruto's second term. While, and this is premised on the fact that people created a narrative that the only region revolting against President Ruto that probably are showing some discomfort is Mount Kenya, simply because of Rigathi Gachagua. But that is not it. Personally, I move across the country. I've just been in Nakuru for the last 7 days. And I can tell you there is a different feedback altogether. Now, the second other aspect they must look at is the Matian'gi trap. The media, the public has demanded that let's have Matian'gi on ballot. Let's have Matian'gi as a presidential candidate. It is about time the opposition to deflate the Matian'gi hype as the only Ruto's beater. If you make people believe that it has to be Matian'gi, if it's not Matian'gi, we cannot beat Ruto, then that means you've already been defeated in that. If the masses are supposed to be sold to Matian'gi and say, Matian'gi is your candidate, and then tomorrow, Matian'gi says, I'm not vying. I want you to imagine, if you make that monster, make him big, then Ruto says, Matian'gi, come, I want to open for you. What is your price? And Matian'gi gets his share and says, I'm not vying. As the is Kenya not going to, is the one time not going to be it? So it should not be pegged to an individual. And it should be moved in a more, it should not be pegged to an individual like it's had to be this so and so. That needs to be deflated. And what can deflate that is my third point on turn the messaging to the policy flows and manifesto. This will put the government in endless defense. And that is how you make Ruto uncomfortable. That's how you make Ruto go to rallies very angry. That's why you make the president send his ministers to go and make all manner of statements that probably are not even concrete. That is the only way. And I'm saying this way. Let me give you a good example. We have SHIF, the Social Health Insurance Fund, which ukienda hospitali, the president on top of the car is telling people 26 million people have registered and is urging more people to register. But there is something he's not telling the people. When you go kutibiwa, umeregister, they're not saying that you should go to the hospital and pay 12 months upfront. That they're not saying in the rallies. Now, that is what the opposition must come and that is the conversation opposition must have. We don't have all the political mass. We don't have all that platform to say. But those who are really on governance must actually question and they must put the president to task. You are saying people should register. Lakini mbona watu wakienda hospitali wanaambiwa walipe 12 months? Why not 3 months? If it is supposed to be affordable, if it is supposed to access, and that 12 months upfront, if someone is paying 600, that is 7,200. Nani akona hiyo pesa? So that is what I'm saying. And I'm like, they need to overcome the trap of the division. Otherwise, the goose is cooked. Thank you.